I've got a new game called Tech Spec, Star Trek, or Total Keck.
Can we get some noise? Thank you.
Great stuff.
Another crap name from Joe Ferguson there. Hello and welcome back to the episode of Kickpoint, the Golf Gear Show. Thank you for joining us once again for another hour or more. Definitely more, isn't it, Joe, nowadays?
God, yes.
Chats.
Yeah.
My name's Dan, as always. And I'm always here, always, unfortunately. Yeah. Joe the Pro Ferguson. What's going on, Joe?
Yeah, not a lot. We just had a bit of lunch, haven't we? Just sat back down.
I've still got sticky pulled pork fingers, mate.
Just gathered.
I haven't washed my hands.
Well, you did eat that like a caveman.
It's disgusting.
It was a tough scene, that.
So we're in our period of we start the first two episodes quite up, don't we? And then I'm in like a lunch bit now. I'm in a sort of lunch coma. Yeah,
a little lull, but sort of a giddy lull, which gets quite funny.
Yeah.
And then the last one's always a little struggle.
We've got two more to come today.
Yeah. Well, hey, see what it takes us. See what comes out the old move.
Welcome along to the ride. This week, Joe's got another game for us.
Yeah.
So that will get energy going, absolutely. Loads of your Asteropods and comments. And then Kellen Watson's back. I feel like I've said his name a million times over the last few weeks.
Kellen's a cool name, isn't it?
Kellen is a cool name.
Don't know many Kellens.
No.
Kellen.
Far from it. I know two Kellens.
No, you don't.
Yep.
Go on.
My mum's mate's
That's Helen.
sister.
That's Helen.
Fine. Whatever. You can choose to believe that.
Yeah.
Kellen Watson is tour for Callaway, and you interviewed him about Minwoo Lee's bag, and he's got some interesting equipment. You must have talked about his grips.
Talked about his grips a lot. We talked about his general attitude to equiment.
That sounds like my year 7 English teacher talking about my general attitude.
Sounds like your yearly work appraisal, truth be told.
Yeah. Frighteningly accurate.
And yeah, some really interesting stuff. Kellen's big in on Minwoo being about to break out. He thinks he's just a top 5 player in the world, just in a holding.
He has been this year, though. Every time I look, even if he's not been in contention, he's tied 6th.
Just all the raw tools there, all the power, all the finesse, all the short game. Just a little refinement here and there. And I think you're looking at he's got the game of a Rory in terms of the power and the flights and everything he can do. So yeah, I'm buying into what Kellen's selling me there.
Lovely. So Joe and Kellen later on, and loads of fun equipment chat in between. But before we move on, because we've got a sponsor this week, and I'm going to talk about them in a minute. I'm going to talk about them now. I've got the scripty bit to do in a minute. It's PXG, but I want to talk firstly about PXG's the moves that they've made this year on tour. And I want to basically ask you, has PXG just basically assembled the bomb squad of the PGA Tour and gone, let's get all the biggest hitters, let's get them using our clubs with our name on the hat and get them out on tour? I'm liking it, Joe. What are your thoughts?
I like it. I think exactly. I mean, what you've done there is word for word rip off what I said to you what we would talk about, and I hoped I would have some sort of input on that. But you've really left nothing to cover there. But absolutely, that seems to be what they've done. So they've got the ball speed behemoths of Marco Penge, Aldrich Potgieter. These are new signings. They've gone out in the old transfer window, the equipment transfer window, made some serious moves, some young talent, some young big hitting talent. And when you're adding that to a stable that already includes Jake Knapp, who's one of the most popular young big hitting ball speed wizards himself, if you were making up that 4-ball on a practice day on the PGA Tour, you're gonna go back to your hotel room and feel a little bit inadequate about yourself when you're just watching 190 plus ball speeds all day. I think it's a great marketing strategy, if that is a strategy, or if it's just something that's organically come about. What a great way to showcase what is really good family of drivers in that Lightning series.
And I'd feel terrible in that 4-ball. I wouldn't try and keep up with them. That's obviously insane. But part of your subconscious would try and maybe hit it a little harder than normal to make it look and feel like you're doing your best. I'd just be miles behind it, hitting little fanny fades because I'm like trying to hit it really hard and just yamming over the top of it.
Yeah, it would be. It's just become more and more of a thing. Match play is one. I was going to go off on such a boring tangent there. I'm going to actually stop myself there about the intimidation factor of long hitting. But you know what I'm getting at.
Thanks for stopping.
I think there was an early. So Penge was a little bit slow off the mark, wasn't he? He had so much going on in terms of the family move, his wife about to give birth, she's now given birth. He began to show what he could do at Riv. I fancied he was going to go on and win that tournament because he's a closer as well. And I think now his wife Sophie's given birth and things will settle down there and he can just get into that schedule. I think you're going to see Penge only go one way. He's made for PGA Tour.
Wonderful. And our friends at PXG are sponsoring this episode. So if you care about playing better golf, Joe, start with the right equipment and more importantly, the right fit. PXG fittings are built for golfers who want to understand exactly what's happening in their swing and what equipment will help them perform at a higher level. You'll go through a one-on-one fitting with a PXG expert. I've been through this, Joe. I've done it out in Scottsdale. Testing club, shaft combinations while reviewing key performance like data like launch, spin, ball speed and dispersion. The goal is simple, Joe, and we've all been there. Dial in equipment that delivers more consistency, better control, and measurable results.
Really enjoyed their movable weights in the irons this year.
Big this year. That was a genuine innovation and move that I enjoyed.
Yeah, don't see it being able to add and move mass from heel to toe to influence ball flight. Really innovative, really good stuff. Very impressive.
So PXG has fitting locations near you, they've told me, and I know that for a fact around the world. And I'm going to do UK here. We've at least got PXG South London, which is in Esher. But that is one of those, if you're committed to a brand, and if PXG is your brand or a brand you want to try, everything's there.
Beautiful setup as well. One of the... That place really satisfies my OCD. You go one of the most immaculately laid out retail facilities I've ever seen, and the fitting bays are beautiful. 2 nice back-to-back fitting bays with everything you can imagine.
And they're a proper fitting brand. Like they've got down to an 11 wood, an 8 hybrid. You can go try all these things out. I think we think of... They're as big an OEM as the rest of them. They've not been around for as long, but I do think PXG is a proper fitting brand if you go and commit the time
more so
to
than
go see
a
all their
lot of
experts.
others. Actually, there's a lot of movable parts within PXG stuff, and they offer a lot of weight options to really dial in swing weight. That's something they've done from the get go. I remember when they had those the first irons. Can't remember what the actual model was called, but they came
Their
with
first irons.
load of tiny little screws and the back weighted screws, and you could just dial in. So yeah, the very very fitting orientated brand.
So wherever you are in the world, go check out your PXG local fitting location, check the latest deals and book your fitting at pxg.com. Thank you to PXG for supporting the podcast this week. Right then, Joe, change of tone, you've got another game for us. Those who enjoyed golf club name or not golf club name will hopefully be fans of this as well. Where did this come from and what are we about to do?
My little brain. Can I have my rant first or should I have my rant afterwards about balls?
Well, now you've said it, I think we should have a little rant, shouldn't we? So this will be coming up in a minute.
It's not, well, it is a rant and it isn't a rant. I just want to know what people think on this. So I saw a press release the other day, Titleist releasing a wide, broad range of golf balls. We've had visual tech in golf ball for a while with like tailor-made picks and triple tracks from Callaway and stuff like that. But Titleist now releasing a very broad range of different alignment aids for the golf balls. You've got kind of like, I remember seeing like a green sort of fading one, a black straight line, some triple tracks type of stuff for aligning golf balls, more on the green obviously, but potentially on the tee too. And I think they look great, and it's a really well thought out level of options. But my point is, should you be allowed to draw on your golf ball, use alignment aids on your golf ball to point you in the right direction in the game? I'm curious to hear everyone's thoughts on this because I've got a couple of takes. My take is, I think I'm more on the no side.
Okay.
Because to me, lining yourself up as a player, pointing your club face in the right direction is part of the skill as much as swinging the golf club. That is a skill of the game. That's why when caddies were banned from going behind players and lining them up, that was the sort of reasoning behind that was, look, lining yourself up is part of the skill of the game. Why are we allowing ourselves to draw guides on our golf ball? What other sport can you do? And maybe I've missed some. I can't think of a scenario. It's not like in snooker, you clean the white ball, mark that, draw a black line towards where you want to pot the next red. I don't know any precedent for it, so I don't get why it's there. Slow play, I don't think it's a help for that. I watched the other day, I'll call him out, Cam Young playing at Bay Hill.
Call him out, whoa.
Oh, tough on I.
Whoa.
Yeah, Cam. Must have taken a good 10, 12 seconds to line this up from 3-4 feet maybe. Then another 10 to 20 up to check it with his club shaft up behind the ball, then walking around the other side. Then he got over it. He didn't like the look of where that line was pointing, got back down and repeated the process for another micro adjustment. He subsequently actually missed the putt as well, not necessarily the point. But I'm just not into it myself, and I'm just curious to know if I've missed any examples from other sports where you can just use your equipment and modify it to help you with your alignment and point you in the right direction.
Let's think about other sports where you're not like cricket or football, where you're reacting to. If that's a reactionary sport, isn't it? You're reacting to things moving around you.
Yeah.
Golf and snooker they're stationary, and you're hitting a stationary thing, right?
Yes.
A ball. I can only think of those two though.
Snooker and pool.
Pool. I think golf, snooker, pool, billiards, whatever the heck you want to call it. I don't know. That, golf. Tennis, it's moving. Football, it's moving. Cricket, it's moving.
But it's like in football when you got a free kick. You can't just like get a Sharpie out your pocket, put a line on the ball, and then point that directly at the top corner to line yourself up.
You've got to line yourself up.
You've got to figure out how to get it there without drawing on your equipment to do so.
I've not thought about it enough. I've got one rebuttal on slow play. I tried out for the first time. I know this isn't a new product. You've used it. Trident Align.
Yep.
It's like a ball marker with a movable marker on it, embedded within it, that allows you to, while the ball isn't there, pick the ball up and aim where you'd like to aim.
It's on like a little pivot and you can move that around.
Exactly. I'll bring some images up for those watching. It's on a little pivot, and while my playing, providing I'm not first to hit, when my playing partners are messing around, I can line up where I'd like it to go. Then when it's my go, pop my ball down that line I've already decided. That's a way of speeding that process up if used correctly. I do think, me and Baz had this debate about aim point the other week on Tour Issue, that being able to line up a ball and aim point shouldn't be slow. It shouldn't be slow. People doing it are being deliberately obtuse and doing it badly are the ones that are slow.
But that's a human problem,
It's not the implication of the device itself, i.e. aim point or alignment. It's D-heads being deliberately slow.
Yeah, but then you get into a bigger picture there of like, it shouldn't be that difficult to drive your car around the town centre and get from A to B. But a lot of the clowns I see around me are ploughing into bollards, hitting pedestrian and mounting the curb. Like, people can't do things. So
people are the problem then. You just don't like people. Is that what we're getting at?
Maybe that's what we're getting at. But yeah, I'm curious. It's not a total rant. It's I've been looking at it. I don't love it. Doesn't feel like it helps speed up play, and I can't think of any other sports where you can modify your equipment to help you with what is ultimately a key skill in terms of alignment. And probably I'm missing something. Be curious to hear about that in the comments. That's just where I sort of net out, I think.
And isn't it interesting how many brands are now on the visual alignment as stock on the ball? So obviously Pix on TP5 and X was probably the first one to go completely mainstream.
Yeah, I never really saw that as an alignment error. I know they've got this sort of path within it where you can kind of create that alignment, but then you get more into the stripe from TaylorMade. I think Triple Track was one of the earlier.
Oh, I remember that, because then it went also onto the putter blade of an Odyssey, didn't it?
Yeah, so you could match all that up. And I get it. It's incredibly useful. This is like a lot of my rants. Like, I'm not saying they're bad things. I think they're really good things. I think Caddies are really good and really useful. You don't think they should be allowed. I just think what all these advantages and things that, in my opinion, always slow the game up. I don't really get it, and that's a really thing for me. I guess there's potential difficulty in policing it with, like, golf balls are still always going to be branded because you need to know what brand of ball you're playing, and
so that's always a small line on the side.
There's always
normally
the potential to use that, but there could be, not that this is ever going to move any further than this, but there could be some legislation to say that has to be curved, or that has to be a certain the text has to be a certain way to not be able to be used in that way to aid alignment.
Yeah,
that's where it just baffles me.
I like the way you look at the game. You look at the game and go, yeah, I'm aware that that's legal and we do that. Caddies, alignment. What was the other one you had to do? The T-pegs. Got some comments on that coming up later, actually. You look at them and go, why? And I like that about you. You're like a toddler. Why? Why, Daddy? Why, Mummy?
I feel like a compliment, Ria. You're like a toddler.
You've got the curiosity of a child, and that's endearing.
That's very sweet of you,
I think it's a compliment as well.
Should we move on?
Yes, come on then. What you got for me?
I've got a new game called Tech Spec, Star Trek, or Total Keck.
Can we get some noise? Thank you.
Great stuff.
Another crap name from Joe Ferguson there.
I think that's really good.
What is Keck?
Keck is, I mean, I had to shoehorn that into rhyme with spec and Star Trek. So it's cack, really. Like, is it just nonsense? Is it rubbish? Have I made this up? So basically what I'm getting at.
Keck is a slur for loser in German.
There you go.
Sorry to our German listeners.
Sorry, Hans.
What's sorry in German, anybody? Sorry in German?
Bitter? Is that pardon?
Bitter's when it's like, that's the opposite of sweet.
Anyway. Launch season this year was a particular head frazzler for me. Reading through all these reams of press releases, promising the world, and with some just outrageously obtuse marketing tech spiel and names for things.
Spiel, that's German.
Spiel, yeah, guten Tag. That has become comical. So most of them to me, or a lot of them, end up sounding like things from sci-fi or from spaceships. So that inspired me to create Tech Spec, Star Trek, or Total Keck. So what we're going to do, Dan, the rules are simple.
Apparently that's sorry in German.
Entschuldigung.
Entschuldigung.
That's not true.
Sorry.
So the rules are simple. I will give you a term, Dan. You have to decide whether it is a Tech Spec, Star Trek, or Total Keck.
This is really good because we're used to these phrases because we go through these press releases. Those listening and watching will see it in some reviews that people write, some news stories that people write, because we're just regurgitating. And who comes up with these? It's our old friend Mark Eating.
Mark
Eating has to come up when the engineers come up with something that's actually going in the club. They're not coming up with these ridiculous names. They're the engineers. Mark Eating's gonna go, right, what can we call power channel? And we're going to find some of these.
Well, that's the first one.
Here we go.
So
play along at home.
Keep your score. And the rules are: if Dan gets more than 3 or more wrong during the outro, I can slap him on the forehead. Okay?
Nice.
So that's what I've just made.
I should get these right. I'm knee deep in these press releases as well.
Number 1, inverted cone technology.
Real.
Correct. That's from a TaylorMade Rocket Balls driver face.
Must have said that recently.
Monotanium shell. So you can't say real.
Oh, I've got to say one of the
Tech
3.
Spec, Star Trek.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Or Total Keck.
Go again on that one.
Monotanium shell.
Star Trek. Good.
That's a super hard alloy used to reinforce the hull of the Starship Enterprise.
Were you a Star Trek fan?
No, my brother was. Big Star Trek man, my brother was. Live long and prosper, Sam. Ozonized frequency dampener.
Keck.
Total Keck.
Keck.
You're absolutely right. 3-0, Dan. A good start.
Don't be slapped in the forehead.
TAS, trajectory adjustment system.
That's a real golf thing.
Yeah, there's the
Who's that from?
That's the weight system on the new QI4D.
Good.
So it's just adjustable weights that you can change the trajectory with. It becomes the TAS. FCT, flight control technology.
Real.
Good, Dan, you're 100% ill. That's the loft sleeve. That's what they used to refer to TaylorMade again as their loft sleeve. Just our loft sleeve is the FCT adapter or FCT whatever.
Great.
Biotic axiom harmonizer.
Star Trek.
Made up.
Ah, it was Keck.
Total Keck, yes. So you're what? I'll keep a track on
That's
mine.
one wrong.
One wrong.
Gosh.
Ozic XCon 5.
Star Trek.
It's Tech Spec.
That's Tech Spec.
The Ozic XCon 5 is a shaft by Matrix.
Oh, Ozic. I should have got that.
The Matrix Ozic.
That's going to make it thick.
Right, so you're 2 now. You've got one more. Otherwise,
it feels like a free slap on the head. How many more of these you got?
I'll give you 3.
50.
Yeah, we've got 200 to go. Primary inertial dampener.
See, inertial's a bit of a golfy word, but that could be a red herring.
And you want to dampen these things, right?
Exactly. They're both golfy words, so I'm going to say Keck.
Star Trek. It's a system that stops the crew from hitting the walls when the ship speeds up into warp factor. All right? Well, that's 3.
Is warp factor one?
Warp speed. That's the speed the starship goes at.
Right.
Cortec chamber.
Real, and I know that's from Strixon.
Mizuno.
Near
Cortec
Japanese.
chamber in...
one of the Japanese ones.
The Cortec chamber in the Mizuno drivers. Intermix chamber.
Keck.
Star Trek.
See, my Star Trek's killing me here. You can stop counting now. You're going to slap me on the forehead anyway.
I'm going to, but I
Put
still
your
want to
fingers
know
away,
how
D-head.
Fine. The specific section of the warp core where matter and antimatter meet to create energy,
And antimatter.
which powers the
Of
starship.
course, yeah, famously.
Flux capacitor.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, what?
No, is that different?
Can't just say yeah.
I'm going to say Keck, but I don't think it's golf, but I don't think it's Star Trek. I think it's some different sci-fi thing. That's Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. That's what
Do you want to know that?
makes time travel possible.
Not seeing Back to the Future, but currently in Fortnite, there's you can drive the DeLorean.
Can you
And if you
really?
get to 88 mile an hour,
The flux capacitor kicks in.
and you get to another named part of the map.
Well, there you go.
Fascinating.
Proprietary matrix polymer.
Golf.
Who?
Golf.
Yeah, but who?
Go again. Matrix.
Proprietary matrix polymer.
Ping.
Titleist. That's the new crown material. Do you remember they created a proprietary matrix polymer? To put on
Or
the-
otherwise known as the new crown material.
Yes, you got it. Urethane microspheres.
Real Callaway wedges.
Very good for
yeah.
you, Dan. Synergized kinetic core.
Keck.
Total keck. Just made
Complete
it up.
keck.
Triaxial carbon fabric.
Triaxial's very golfy. Was it fabric? Star Trek.
It's real.
Hey?
That's
Go on.
crown from the Callaway Paradigm Driver area.
Fabric was used as
Yeah,
a word.
well,
That's
they
an
call it
interesting
triaxial
choice of
carbon
language.
crown made from the triaxial
Bless you.
carbon fabric, I believe. And that brings us to the end
Well done.
of Tech Spec, Star Trek, or Total Keck. Let us know in the comments below. How did you get on? I think Dan got, I'm going to say
4 or 5 wrong.
5 wrong. If you can be better than that, you're a better man than Dan.
Yeah,
Or
and if
lady.
you got worse than me, let us know where you live. Joe will come and slap you on the forehead. It's a kick point promise. I've got one of those games coming up in a few weeks, so I hope you're liking them.
Tough scene if not, right?
Right then, it's time for Ask the Pod. Rhea, do you mind playing the music for us, please, Bab? So very much. You do quite a good Brummy.
Off the pod.
Ask the Pod. Ask the Pod. It's Ask the Brummy Pod. Behind it as well.
Oh
no, Brummy's doing that,
Damn.
Right, this is our favourite part of the show. Hopefully yours as well, where we get to answer some of your questions and talk about some of your comments we've seen on YouTube. I'll start with the comments as always, Joe. Jake Ruiz 7421. There is a rule against tee height. Cut the rule in half.
There is a rule. I don't know what does he specify what the height is? Because
So he said cut it in half, and that ends up at 2.25 inches. So that gives us, 4.5 inches at the minute?
I still just think it's not far enough. I heard a few people say in our comments section going, I get it, Joe, that's a good idea, but what about we just limit tee height? I'm just like, well, if you're limiting, just stop it. Let's really sort the strikers out here. That's where I stand on it.
Jake Ruiz says it would a smaller tee would at least force a more level angle of attack, or if you still wanted to hit up on it, you'd have to use the smaller head that we were talking about.
Yeah,
So
I get it.
that could be a gateway drug.
Could be a gateway.
try it.
Could be the way we go in there. Also, I think Jake feels like he's from the Fast and the Furious. He sounds like he would have been hanging around with Vin Diesel.
Ruiz.
Yeah.
Next one, similar theme, Jason Mayala, 7315. I feel like the easiest and most sensible rollback is shrinking the CC limit on drivers. Keep tees, keep balls the same. Every manufacturer already ready for it. And I am 100% behind that. Golf has got itself in a right tiz with this ball rollback because it's a bit precious about how far they're hitting it on tour. Stop them using these massive effing heads.
That would be my
and that
second
would
prize.
just be easier for everyone. We can still use them because we're swinging it at 90 mile an hour, but stop these guys on tour for a tour event, professional event, using anything over 300 cc's.
I'm all for I think that'd be my either tied first or second prize. I'm big into that. I just think you've got to create something which offers some jeopardy of pulling out driver. Right now, there's no real risk at 460cc with the high MOIs and the level of forgiveness.
Right.
Like there were times watching professional golf back in the day where if there was an enforced carry of whatever it would have been, even 220, 230, you knew if someone didn't quite get one of those old drivers out the screws, they weren't making it. So there was some actual, you'd get down the stretch in tournaments and you'd see some duck hooks into the rubbish. You'd see some really bad shots, and then you'd see the person who can really hold their nerve together to operate with precision under the most serious amounts of pressure. That to me is elite golf, because I've said to you before, there's drivers I test nowadays. I can just do half a day's work rock up on a tee, pull out the Ping G440 Max 10K, for example, or the G440K or the G430 Max 10K, for example.
Keep saying words.
Make any sort of movement towards the ball of any description.
Look at it funny.
Yeah, and find the head, not even really the face.
Find the head.
And it's down there. It's playable. It's usable, and that's brilliant. It's an astonishing feat of engineering and design and all that kind of stuff. But I would just love to see. I think that would be the easiest way of reining in the game just a little bit, really creating some separation amongst the better and more average golf pros. I think there's a lot of average players earning an incredible living without excelling in a particular. I don't really know what I'm saying, but you know what I'm getting at.
And wouldn't it make tour golf on television 10 times more interesting if you knew at any point, especially down the stretches you mentioned, like watching Batia and Berger at the API, one of them could just hit a toe duck hook that goes 170. That's on the cards at all times. It makes from first ball on Thursday to last ball on Sunday 10 times more interesting than it already is now, because there's no jeopardy on the tee. Or they might miss the fairway slightly right. It's all right, they're going to gouge their short iron out there anyway because they're so far up. Correct. You get so much more entertainment value out of it, and when they do get it right, you are then watching an absolute flusher doing their best.
Yeah, you've watched perfection, you've watched sporting excellence, and players. I mean, we're recording this, spoiler alert, before the Players' Championship, but
what's the spoiler alert?
The stretch there.
What we spoiling?
Spoiler alert that we're not doing it live. I don't know. But imagine that closing stretch of holes. You got 16 that par 5 round the corner where you got to turn one. And you're doing that with a 200cc driver, and the margin for error there, if you don't get it right, is just smothered into that stuff on the left, and you can't get up.
That's now make a bogey if you can.
18, one of the toughest tee shots. Imagine, finding someone who's got the minerals there to put a 250cc driver, put the swing on that to get that in play. I love it. I just think there's so many better. As I've maybe said before in some of these rants, I think we're fine to an extent. I wouldn't maybe touch anything. Golf, I think, has been in a good place, and I don't know if it's ever been in a better place. I don't know why we necessarily feel like we've got to act. But if we do want to act, I just think there's the two ways that we've spoken about there are two slightly better thought out ways of bringing skill back in the game than just going, well, let's just make the ball go less far.
Yeah, completely.
It's still going to be easy to hit with those massive drivers.
Yeah. Completely. Well, let us know what you think about that. Providing we're still doing this in a couple of years, which I'm not sure it wouldn't be, but we're going to be at the heart.
Got something to tell us.
We're going to be at the very heart of quite a big equipment change for the whole world of golf.
Correct,
very soon. It's all coming up. Last comment, but it is a question, Joe. Barlow 260. I've gone down a rabbit hole of working out swing weight of my clubs and found that total weight seems to reduce from short irons to long irons. Why is this when the shafts are longer?
Where are we?
We are in Winner's Triangle, Joe. We're filming episode 78 of the Kickpoint podcast.
You've definitely said these about. Repeat your question. Go again, please,
I've
Dan.
gone down a rabbit hole of working out swing weight.
Yes.
And found that total weight seems to reduce from short irons to long irons.
Yes.
Why is that when the shafts are longer?
Simply because of head weight. So
yes.
It's total weight reducing, yeah?
Yeah, as you go from a wedge is heavier than a 4-iron.
Correct.
Yes. Why is that when the club gets longer is what this man's asking.
It's just a design feature to control swing weight. So, I mean, realistically, to match up swing weight, say you're looking at D2 throughout, if your shaft length is extending as you go in longer, if you didn't change the head weight of the club, the swing weight as you're going up half an inch is going to go up 2-3 swing weight points at a time. So to match swing weights and to make them feel like they're kind of the same amount of effort to swing, the actual mass of the heads gets significantly heavier down the bottom end of the bag.
Interesting.
And that's essentially all that is.
Are you okay?
No, you panicked me.
Did I put that in after you'd finished looking at the sheet?
I just had all this laid out
nicely.
nicely.
If we worked off the same sheet, you'd see.
Well, we did work off the same sheet, and then I transfer it to a separate sheet.
You're not on that sheet, are you?
No, because your sheet's nonsense.
You're full of sheet. Right. One more question from this week. It's come from Paul Smith. maybe off of clothes. Who knows? Hi, chaps. Love the pod. Question on grip thickness, please.
See, Paul Smith's in here for me.
That's not my problem.
Well, it is.
Your copying and pasting ability is on you and you only. And if Barlow260 wants a question answered, which you actually answered him in the YouTube comments, by the way.
Did I?
Yeah, but I thought I'd bring it to the rest of the public.
Maybe that's why I thought I'd covered that before in my notes, and I couldn't find it in my notes, but I've covered it on the podcast YouTube.
Is everyone else interested in Joe's inner thoughts?
Thank you.
Scary place. Hi, lie. I read that as hi, love, but it was actually hi.
I'll take it from Danny can't read. Paul Smith, hi, love the pod. Question on grip thickness, please. What are the pros and cons for having thick or thinner grips? Is it all about size of hands, or, for example, is it about taking the hands out of the shot with thicker grips and vice versa? Also, I struggle with golfer's elbow. I've read that thicker grips can reduce the pressure on elbows. Would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks, Paul from Enville. He's around your neck of the woods.
My neck of the woods, Enville. He'd have liked that's the pod. He might sound like that.
He'd have loved it.
Oh, Paul, you got
so Dan,
thick,
off you
thick
go.
grips.
Off you go.
Well, when we spoke with Peter Finch, he was using thicker grips to help a wrist injury. So it's completely irrelevant to Paul because he's got an elbow injury, but there is some theory that reducing pressure will reduce strain on elbows and wrists. That's a lot of BS right there.
It's a good start.
That's not a bad start.
That's all right. We'll elaborate on that.
What else did he ask?
Thickness? What are the pros and cons?
Oh, countless. One, for example, being a thinner grip uses less tape. So there's less environmental
use
damage.
Less tape?
I wouldn't, would
What
it?
nonsense.
Less rubber.
Right, let's get back to me on this. Right, so the
This whole
thickness
thing would fall down without you.
Ian
You're just doing that to make yourself more valuable, aren't you?
I think I've just established real value there. Time for a pay rise. Ian Fraser spoke a little bit about this when we interviewed him, or
Yes.
I did, when you were
Yeah, I didn't do that for all,
mooching
don't worry
about in
about me.
Orlando, pretending to talk to people. And it seems like there might be a shift in conventional wisdom on this.
Yes.
He spoke at length about, I can't remember the guy's name, I think it's guy at the golf lab or the golfing lab. I've not even got into this, but I need to because this guy seems very clever. Doing some significant research into, we spoke about this, about Golf Pride doing at the GIC, doing more, which is the Golf Pride
I don't think they
Innovation
wanted to
Centre.
know to be called the GIC. I started calling it the GIC and
Right.
it's stuck.
So actually measuring rates of rotation with golfers when they change thickness in their hands and stuff. And the research being done so far that Ian was talking about suggests that in many cases, thicker grips can actually yield better results for people with smaller hands. So it's more about the contact points between your hand and the golf club rather than sort of the old... I mean, if you go for a fitting now and they say grip this club and they take a look and see if your fingers touch your fleshy bit of the palm, just walk out. That's not a good barometer to see any results
that
from.
feels like one of those things that's been passed down from fitter to fitter to fitter. No one actually... One bloke did it once, I reckon, years ago. Everyone's seen it and gone, decent.
Yeah, go with that. That's a good way of quantifying that.
And no one's questioned it until now, basically.
Exactly right. So... the jury is out. I think the whole concept of thicker grips taking hands out of the shot could be total nonsense. And in my experience in fittings, just anecdotally, without sort of recording this, I've never seen any of this. Oh crikey, this guy's hitting it left and rolling his hands. Or I'll stick him in a jumbo. Oh right, look, he's perfect now. He's got club face control. I've never seen it.
No.
It's I don't see that in practice. Again, it's a nice thing to sort of try and square off in your head as an idea, but I don't believe it. And if anything, I think there's probably some science that might suggest that it would be the other way around. Because if you've got, think about a bigger steering wheel, Dan. Think about sort of
a bigger
centrifugal
steering wheel.
If you've got the wider the radius of your wheel, you'd have to turn it less to move the car. So realistically, if your grip's becoming girthier and wider, the radius of that, a slight change of a radius of a thicker grip would likely influence the club face more than a slight change in radius of a thinner grip.
Good way of imagining it, yeah.
I would possibly think so. Yeah, I've got no real answers for it in terms of the pros and cons of thicker or thinner. It's just, again, one of those things I know we say all the time, but you just got to have to try it. You're going to have to figure out a way, whether that's buying some different thickness grips and then getting on a launch monitor and measuring dispersion, seeing how you feel. There just is no hard and fast rules. You've got players like Padraig Harrington who've got quite big hands, who have always preferred the thinnest grip they can find, stretched on, using no tape to make it as thin as humanly possible, versus someone like Bryson DeChambeau, who I don't think has the world's biggest hand from memory. I think he's like a medium
No,
large.
we had someone email about this saying like basically why is his equipment so weird and extraordinary when his body isn't that extraordinary, and that is it. It's not actually a physiological thing so much as a feel and a timing and a swing thing.
But both of those players might be in the same glove size, but have grips that couldn't be more polar opposite, and both have won multiple majors. So if that doesn't tell you that there's no right or wrong way, you've just got to find your way. That's my take on that. And in terms of the elbow thing, I get it. The sort of the concept of having softer material or more material between your hands and the shaft should, in theory, dampen the impact, dampen the vibrations. And I've heard that feedback from players, but having not suffered with golfers' elbow or wrist injuries or anything like that, I can't personally testify that I've experienced that taking any pressure off. But I've definitely heard that feedback from players that I've worked with.
If you're fat in the back of a driving range, Matt, 200 times a week, you're going to cause yourself problems regardless of what grip is on there. Again, I've never suffered from it, so I don't know whether the grip can completely solve that or maybe take away a bit of that vibration. You'd have to probably speak with someone who's experienced golfer's elbow before. So the only anecdotal stuff I've got is Pete Finch's wrist injury, which I think was from a similar thing.
Yeah.
They're taking a bit of pressure out of it and a bit less vibration through
And
it.
there are specialist sort of arthritic grips that
Get you in them soon.
there's no one's fat. I don't think they've got any for fat people. So there are real specialist arthritic grips of particular thickness and very soft material to do the utmost they can possibly do to soften any vibrations from impact. There was a grip back in the day.
Fat people
There's a
grips.
lad. I've just had a flashback to like my first England coaching session, and there was a guy called Andrew Sheffield. If you're listening, Andrew, hope you're well. He was like he had a little pure set of old blades. Everyone thought of him as a real ball striker. And he had these sort of old grips. I don't know where he got them from. And they were called the chamois.
Yeah,
they were like
you spoke about this.
Yeah, they were like a cappuccino. So CHAMOIS, I think it was.
Oh, look at
and they were like a
these.
cappuccino-y sort of a colour. Have you gotten the right one?
There you go. Hockey. It's more of a hockey.
No, that's
Oh, no, here's a
wrong
golf grip one. Avon Chamois grips, black and gold.
Yeah, those are the puppies.
Oh,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
nice, though. I'll bring a picture up for those listening. They've got black with some sort of gold prints on it and some sort of animal.
Yeah,
like an
really,
ibex.
really retro. And for several years, everyone just used to see him and go, Chamois! So that's just popped into my head there.
You've got so many stories that we've not quite wangled out of you yet. And stuff like that's class.
I think those are incredibly soft from memory. I remember picking those up.
$6.95 a grip as
they
well.
were
It's
really
not bad,
spongy. Well, I'm in the midst of your Vibesman set at the moment.
Are we still doing that?
Oh, I'm on it.
Okay,
yeah.
birthday was a while ago, but that's fine.
And if you like the look of a chamois, hey, we'll see.
That's vibey. Paul, on your question for me and what Joe's been saying, the more we've delved into grips over the last few weeks and months doing this podcast, the more I think we're understanding there's not a lot of understanding about them yet. So I think it's actually a really untapped part of the game. And ultimately what we answered in the Ask the Pod last week, I think, is it's going to take time, effort, a bit of money. But once it's done properly and you find what you like, done once, you're then set for life, I guess.
But also, I think we've got to accept, and me personally have got to accept, sometimes there aren't answers. There aren't rights or wrongs.
I refuse to accept that.
Well, they could do all this research and try and quantify, when players go thinner, this
X
happens.
yeah.
Thick. But there is a very good chance, as with a lot of things in golf, that like when many players use a high torque shaft, they hit it, start hooking it. When other players use a high torque shaft, the torque works in a different fashion because of their acceleration profile, and they start slicing the bejesus out of it.
It's a silly game, Joe.
Because it's such an individual move and we're all different physiologically, I think there'll probably be a very good chance that there is no quantifiable way of sorting that out, and it is just going to be that painstaking process of trial and error. Try this grip, try a rib, try this tape, take the taper out, add layers of tape, add your thickness with rubber, not tape, put it on closed, put it on open. Like how did Bubba stumble on 16 layers of double-sided tape set 25 degrees open? Like
that's trial and error.
That's trial and error. Yeah, of course.
And maybe we're actually doing a bad thing here and trying to force the industry, not force the, but trying to push the narrative
into a right and wrong,
which we know is actually not a good way of doing it. We shouldn't, not everything should be a right or a wrong. This is where that silly grip things come, where if your hand's wrapped over it, it's too small. That was just someone going, right, that therefore gives us a right and a wrong and a definitive. And that's actually been counterintuitive. So maybe we should be more...
I'm with you. I think I've grown. What was that
vibey.
time where you started calling me Stalin because I wanted everything standardised and answers for everything? Can't remember what that topic was about.
We had a massive debate about you wanted everything standardised.
What was that about?
Eh? You what?
Right, we've got Minwoo next, have we?
Yes, we do have Minwoo next. I need to plug one thing.
Go
I
on.
can't remember now because you just said and I had something to say, Joe. It's really thrown me off. Oh, that was it. Paul Smith. If you got any nice shirts lying around, you know where to...
Oh, well, that was worth the wait, wasn't it?
No, the serious one was thank you for your
Jack knows
request.
Ted Baker.
They all hang out.
Yeah.
And ASOS, Mr. ASOS. Thank you for your questions and comments. Keep them coming in. You can email us. What the heck's our email? kickpointpodcast@futurenet.com for the email, and ask them on YouTube, in YouTube comments if you're watching, or Instagram DMs. That's where we'll find them. That's where I find them all from. Thank you. Keep them coming. They're all very thoughtful and
Remember,
wonderful.
this was supposed to be a short interlude at the start before the
Time for Minwoo Lee and Kellen Watson. No, it's not. It's you.
It's me and Kellen Watson talking about Minwoo Lee. Enjoy. We're going to get down a couple of tablets. Right, we're back with now our old friend, Kellen Watson, Senior Player Development Representative for Callaway Golf. Nice to see you again, Kellen. How are you?
And you're just talking as historical basis, right? Not as in my age, correct?
Not your age, absolutely not. Yeah, you don't look
Yeah,
a day over 25 to me, Kellen. So we are going to dive into the bag of one of the more animated and interesting characters, probably in world golf, the chef, Minwoo Lee. What's he like to work with?
He's an interesting one. He's a good one too. He's much different than most. And it really doesn't in some terms essentially not much of a changer of things either. Usually it comes kind of with mostly kind of with the top end of the bag rather than the rest of the set. He's been in kind of that the prototype muscle back that we have just come out with. One of the first sets. The first set, so it was probably machine. It was machined for him, so he had a machine set of those irons, and then the wedge stuff has not really changed over the last, maybe 3, 4, 5 years. But the top end is just trying to figure out the top end of the set is probably the thing that we've concentrated the most on. And then also, when I talk about the top end of the bag too, I would probably go ahead and how a bag is laid out. I would, kind of throw the putter in there as well. It's always been kind of, harnessing the speed that he has and making it the most efficient that it can be is probably the biggest thing with him. And trying to kind of get him to buy into the ideal of what we talked about, earlier with the John Ron stuff and kind of delving into what the stuff we do with Xander is, just trying to get him kind of an arsenal of golf clubs that he can take with him everywhere. If 2 or 3 of those, clubs need to sit on the bench for that week, then, so be it. But trying to hit specific distances is a little bit, is a little bit more in depth with him just because of the speeds that he travels at.
That was going to be my question. Do you see a direct correlation? Because you're saying obviously the emphasis there is at the top end of the bag, and that's the area that's trickier, I guess. But he's one of the higher ball speed players on tour, right? You regularly see him in the sort of the late 180s, 190 ball speed. So Is there a direct correlation, kind of, as the speed goes up, the volatility and the difficulty of getting that area of the bag goes up, or am I making things up?
No, you're not making things up, and it's also kind of changed in the sense of coming off the West Coast too, and seeing the temperatures that they've been playing at the West Coast, and then for him, I think confidence is one of the biggest things too, and it's something we talked about this week in Orlando. Is like the first few shots on the range with him and standing there with Shane, his caddy, um, just seeing a little bit more, a little bit more carry out of some of the irons, and I don't know if that's due, simply put, it would be because the temperatures are a little bit higher, right? But I think to a point, I think the confidence that he has in himself right now and the finishes that he's had are allowing him to kind of be a little bit more freewheeling in terms of swing. And they've worked, him and Richie Smith, his coach, have worked tirelessly over the last probably 2 years to get him in a better position that makes more sense for essentially golfing in the United States. I think there was more emphasis, prior to that on, trying to dominate DP World Tour events, which are obviously a little bit different in terms of windows and spin rates and flights. And it's just a little bit different over there than it would be in the United States. It would mostly based on carry and land angles, and spin being the right for those land angles. I think there was a movement towards kind of, not as the attack angle being as steep as it once was, and trying to get it to more of a proper place to attack some of these majors as well as some of these signature events. And I think he is in a really, really good spot, and I think that's why just this week in particular, with the weather being a little bit warmer and then being to take advantage of kind of not having as many clothes on, I guess. And then the balls being a little bit warmer as well. I think he's seeing a little bit of an uptick in speeds, and then obviously that falls on us on trying to kind of gap everything appropriately. What we do know is kind of the driver's never coming out of his hands, that mini driver's never coming out of his hands. So it's just kind of gapping between whether it be the 3-iron still in the bag or the 4-iron and that mini driver. So for him, we're getting in a place where it's not as tasking week to week, trying to find something that fits. I think him being in the right frame of mind and in the right kind of swing frame of mind, I think it's a little bit easier than it has been in the past, because the rolling changes to what they've been doing swing wise finally kind of, I wouldn't say they've apexed. I think they're on a really great level. So it's a little bit easier now to discern what needs to go on. So I mean, he's kind of one of those guys too. Is like the first thing, it's the first 3 shots out of the bag, and he's not going to hit the same 3 shots in a row. He's kind of a big, Tiger was my idol kind of guy. So just even knowing, shot wise, Tiger's not going to hit the same shot 3 times on the range. He's going to try, it's going to be the stock shot, then it's going to be the draw, then it's going to be the fade, then it's going to low, high. It's kind of going through that. Basing something on the first shot is not something that I will do with him. He just needs to call out what he's going to do.
From a fitness point of view, I think it's really fascinating to hear these, like, because I guess people would look and think you've got the easiest job in the world because he's the most repetitive. Hey, that's not what I said, Kellen.
Yeah.
I just said these guys have the most repetitive actions, the super high skill set. But you forgetting again the nuance of, like you've just said, coming from a different part of the world. Speeds go up and down, fluctuations over the course of a season. Your job is to keep an eye on that, keep gapping constant, and make manipulations here and there. Not to mention swing speed changes, or swing changes, technical changes that you're talking about there. It's an ongoing maintenance process, isn't it? It's not just like we've said before. It's not just here's your specs, like your suit size, and go get another suit made. This is a fluid thing, right?
Yeah, it's and also, I mean, I'm not trying to criticize him at any point, but he's one of the younger guys too. So you get kind of more of a I don't want to say an attitude about it, but like there's times too, and I've told this to people before. It's more about, it's more about me learning more about. I'm studying him more than I am studying what he needs, right? So
Yeah.
there's times that you can go talk to him and see what he thinks, and then there's times that let's just stay away from it for now, because his attitude's not in the right spot, and let's just kind of we'll wait. So there's a lot of like anthropological stuff, just studying who he is, studying what his attitude's going to be like, and knowing if it's the right time to either suggest something or ask him the question of, is this what we're going after?
Yeah.
And I think he's really matured in the last year or so, to a point where like he knows mentally that he is at he should be in the top 10 in the world. His talent level is great. Um, his attitude needs to be more positive about what he can do, and I think he's really in that good spot right now where he understands that he's a great short game guy. He is now becoming, a much better putter of the golf ball. And let's take advantage of, the irons are there. He can hit the irons as good as anybody else hits the irons. But now let's take advantage of, the speed that you have. Let's make sure all these gappings are right. It's, just trying to get him a positive mindset that, he can compete week to week with the best in the world, and he can come out on top. And, I really think he's very close to, you know, doing it consistently. And I think that's what most people are kind of going for, right? I mean, you can win once in a while, but I mean, what is that doing, right? It's just more about the consistency of seeing, okay, my ball flight, all my yardages are right. Let's get this there. Let's get this there. You can just rely on, the talent after that. So the work's been put in. Let's rely on the talent. Let's go from there. So he's a little bit different in terms of that. And with the speed, you would think that would be easy, like you said. These guys making very consistent swings, one after the other. But when speeds are really high, it's not as easy as one may think.
Well, my question was going to be then, from a fitting perspective, and working with the players you do, someone like Minwoo, who, as you've just said, isn't basically hitting the same shot consecutively. He's going to low fade one. He's going to hit a high draw. How the hell do you deal with that from a fitting perspective? Because obviously, if you've got a Ram who predominantly wants to see everything left to right, and that's all I want to see to an extent,
Yeah.
is that a much easier fit? And and where do you approach that with Minwoo? Is it like, are you trying to get something just because he wants right to left, left to right, low, high, everything? Do you just have to kind of create the most neutral setup you possibly can to allow the deviations from there? Where do you go? I've got a
Yeah,
headache.
no, you kind of get you don't get lost, right? But you can. I mean, just the frequency that you work with the player too, you can see, right? So there'll be some times where he'll go from, and this was one of the reasons that he put the mini driver in the bag in the first place, and it's been in the bag for a couple of years now. Is just it was much easier for him to feel comfortable hitting a draw with that than it would be the driver. He was always kind of the pull cut kind of guy with the driver. So let's give him an option where he can hit down on the ball, which he's very good at doing. The steeper attack angle for him, the easier it is for him to manufacture shots. And we found that, and it might have been a happy little accident that in LA he just felt like the elite mini driver that he had was losing something. He thought it was flattened or it was just about to crack, and so we went with this new one, this new quantum mini driver, and the first three shots were nice draw, which would be the stock for that club, and then he hit a nice cut, and then he hit a nice straight ball, and it's like, okay, we're good. It's just different. Harnessing speed is a lot tougher than maximizing lower speed, if
Yeah.
that's correct. And I just it's now we're getting more neutral on everything. So it's a much different challenge. And then saying the neutrality of a club to make it go, different ways, standing there, you can tell, like, if I see somebody trying to manufacture something and it looks different than what is natural, then I'll know that it's not working. And I mean, just being there and the amount of times I've seen it, it's just like, no, this isn't right. Even if they think it looks good, and I'll just be like, dude, come on,
You're working
like
too hard.
you did this, you were, yeah. I mean, and especially like, coming off this week, is like if you're trying to hit a cut and you're finishing like Arnold Palmer, no pun intended, like, yeah, that ain't gonna do it. So there's a, I wouldn't call it one of my innate abilities, but I mean, I've seen him swing so many times, right? I've seen all these guys swing so many
Like,
times.
I guess when you're with your kids, like people will say, "Oh, they're in good spirits," but you can see they're not. Like,
Yeah.
you're kind of
Yeah.
you've got the golf fitting equivalent of that. And like, it looks great. The ball did what I wanted, but you can just see that wasn't it, right? So, but and
Right.
I can see you headache thinking about this. So let's get into the
No,
what is that?
I have a headache permanently, but
So
it is what it is.
new driver, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. The latest I've seen is using the new Quantum Triple Diamond, but the TD version, the Tour Draw. Is that right? And then the
That
specs
is correct.
10.5 degrees, but at 10.6. Neutral standard in the OptiFit setting. You just stop me when I'm wrong, right?
You're good. I mean, hey, I'm never going to stop you.
Shaft change from blue into Ventus Black, the new Velocor Plus 7X. 45 inches end of grip, only tipped half an inch rather than an inch. And with the Gripmaster leather, 3 double-sided wraps and 1 double-sided on the right hand. You changed your eyebrows then when I said something. So where am I wrong?
No, 1 inch tip on the driver shaft. And then, that old setup of the 3 and 2, that's gone now. They've made a special grip for him, Gripmaster wise. He used to like kind of a thicker grip. Now it's very thin. It's almost an undersized Gripmaster leather with just 1 double side under it. It's a little bit different. He's one of those guys that, just like this past week, I gave him a new gap wedge and it had a fresh grip on it. And he's like, this grip's bigger. I was like, no, it's not. It's like the one you have is so worn down that this is something I go through with everybody, is like, oh, this grip seems bigger. I was like, and listen, you've worn down the old one so much that you're used to it. This one is just fresh that you asked for. And they're the same size. They are the same size. I can get a micrometer out if you would like me to, and we can pull some numbers, but they're obviously going to be different because of the wear on it. But yeah, funny story about that too is, go back to match play, maybe in Austin. This probably has to be 3 years ago. We were planning on he was in Ventus Red at the time. He was seeing a couple things that he didn't like to see. So we moved up to a blue, and it was supposed to be a 7X blue, and I built a 6X blue. And it worked out perfectly. And after about 10 shots, he's like, but this was supposed to be 7. I go, are you going to complain about that? And he goes, no, this was great.
Was that an intentional mistake from you? Or
Definitely was not. That was one of the few that I've made in my career. And there's been only a couple.
to Kent Notes on the ping ban, who inadvertently changed Hovland's taping setup by forgetting to add certain layers, and Hovland then just said, that's fine, it feels all right, I'll go with that. So just completely changed his taping setup because on a mistake. So you're not alone there, Kenton. But I guess the 2 questions I've got on driver. Can you just explain the main differences between the Triple Diamond TD and the standard TD, the standard Triple Diamond, or even the Triple Diamond Max? And then just give me a little breakdown on the shaft change up into this into the Ventus Black, if you could.
Yeah, just going on the shaft real quick. I think it was more due on the shaft change was more coming off of just the elite driver, and the things that he was seeing with the misses, and it was due to kind of even these guys being professional athletes. There is a sense of anxiety and nervousness when going into some of these tournaments. And it was kind of amplified at Waste Management with him, where he, Thursday you get a little anxious first round. Sunday you get a little anxious final round. Um, and him just commenting that, Friday and Saturday everything was fine. He was smoothing drivers, everything was smooth, 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 smooth. But you get that little anxiety in the back of your head, and you understandably you're either going to not be smooth, or you're going to be quick, or you're going to try to hit some a little bit harder than others. And he felt like the ones he was trying to hit harder, and the ones that he was trying to smooth but tempo wasn't there, he was getting kind of right start lines with a little bit more spin. So he wanted to go up a little bit in weight, just to kind of bring down the spin on the elite. But in terms of that, we needed to essentially test some quantum stuff anyway. So we ended up doing that at Pebble Beach. And uh, I know the Triple Diamond TD, the Tour Draw, that he was in that for quite some time last year too. It allowed him to, see a little bit more of a left start line with a like kind of a falling right pattern. So that was my initial thought, was let's start there, right? Same look as the Triple Diamond. So I mean, aesthetically from top, you're not changing much. Um, Triple Diamond Max really wasn't an option, just because the footprint's a little bit bigger. And I don't know if it's doing the same thing, but between the Triple Diamond Tour Draw and the Triple Diamond, it's just the CG locations are a little bit different. Obviously, there's not the external weight package that we have on the Triple Diamond Tour Draw that we do on the Triple Diamond. And then the Triple Diamond tends to be, I would say, if I were to give it to him, it would start a little bit further right, and then it would cut from there. So we're trying to eliminate the right miss. So the further we can start it left, or the further he can aim straight and not have kind of the wild dispersion, the better off we were. And I think there was a little bit of reluctancy going into Riviera, that the winds that had picked up at Pebble, it was easier for him to hit fairways because he could aim straighter and hit it straighter. And then he didn't need to see kind of that little fade to it. So we kind of had a back and forth about that, but he's kind of realized that with every other club, he aims a certain way. So at Riviera, he didn't mind that if he hit one, he felt like the miss went too straight. Obviously, not a problem that most people have, but we just he kind of went with it. And I think it paid off pretty well. Like, I feel like now he is in a better, frame of mind, where, like, throughout the bag, the shoulder line and the foot line do not need to change drastically for him to hit the shots that he wants to hit. And that comfortability, I think, puts him in a very good zone mentally. So yeah, it just worked. It worked out very nicely at Pebble. Even on the range, it was great. And I hate doing stuff on the range because there's no pictures that you can kind of, manipulate.
In
You just
terms of
have this.
there's not a bunker to cut it off, or there's not trees to.
There is, right? There is, but there's no trees, centralized, right? There's bunkers centralized, and I still don't know why people do that, because you have to pick the bunkers, and you're just paying people more money. But I mean, you can't really paint a picture of the whole, because and this is something we went over this past week, and I said it with I think we were talking about I think I was talking to Grazerman, and his caddy's like, why do you keep saying that? I go, well, I can't paint a picture. Like, I can't put you on that first tee, right? I can't put you on the 10th tee. I can't put you on the 12th tee. It's like, I can't paint a picture of what that, because you're just in an open lot of grass, right? And then, most of the guys that's on the range, it's just like you're on a par 5 that's downwind, right? You're going to hit driver, like, that's it. The smarter guys, yes, they will hit the shots required, and you'll ask them to hit like a fairway finder, and then, okay, we'll hit that 14 times around. and they don't have the cognition to say, I'll do that. Because they want, I mean, you need to take advantage of, the length that you're given. And especially for Minwoo, it's just like, can we get the patterns we like at the speeds you're at to essentially give yourself, a little boost in, stroke scan off the tee. And so it's, for him to see the straighter ball and for him to kind of feel more comfortable to be set up the way he was, I think it's a lot easier for him to play golf in that sense, where he doesn't have to feel like he's got to aim left to manufacture a cut. And I think that was not only due to, the head that we put him in, but also that shaft lets him be a little bit more aggressive through contact without the ball going in just crazy directions. So the dispersion came down, the spin was in a very good spot. Especially kind of with the lower shots that he hits too. And then, we really don't go after a draw with the driver. That's kind of what that mini driver has been made for. And then we've kind of changed everything, just based off the comfort he had with that shaft. So we've gone, I think we're back in, let me check my little notes here.
Yeah, let's get into fairways then. Give me the setup of, just briefly run me down setup of that new mini driver, which for those who haven't seen, it's something that's hit the USGA conforming list, isn't available at retail as of the time we're talking here, but is obviously going to be coming. So if you could give us a specs of that, have you talked us through kind of why it's there, allows him just the freedom to not lose too much distance, but have a right to left option in the bag there. And then
we
just give us another rundown of, go on.
We stuck with the same shaft that he had in his old mini driver. So it's a Ventus. It's the original Ventus Blue 9X, and we tipped that 1.25 inches. So it's a little bit over, that inch that would be in the driver, but not to not to the 1.5 that usually is standard with a 3-wood. And that at some point, I guarantee we will end up trying probably a 9X in the new, Velo Plus Black. The switch in this one too, especially, we did this in LA, is he could hit the draw right off the bat, first swing, nice little draw with the mini. But then, the shots that come after that, the low one, the low draw, the low fade, the fade itself, it was just a heck of a lot easier for him to produce those shots without feeling like he had to manufacture it. That kind of made that a little bit head and shoulders above what the elite was last year. So that was huge. I think that's a big one. And especially at his speeds, if you can use something that's got a little bit more spin, because spin is your friend essentially when it comes to, accuracy. If he can hit that, and he's probably hitting 175 ball speed with the mini driver. I mean, you're obviously you're taking a driver out of somebody else's hands in comparison, and he's doing it with something that's a hell of a lot more accurate than a driver itself. I think that was huge for him to see that he could hit the shots he needed to hit very comfortably over what he did have last year. I think that gives him just an excellent weapon to attack some of these holes that are coming up, whether it be, April, June, July, August. It's I think
a 175 ball speed tee club that can draw comfortably feels like it sets up very well for a particular golf course that I can think of around April.
Yeah. And I mean, it could, there's quite a few holes that it works on, especially even the longer ones that, you're not worried as much about the distance you have in for your second shot. You're more worried about what lies, in between tee and green, so could it be something for number one? Could it be something for, 3, or is it 3, 4? Kind of up the hill. Do you want to get it past the bunkers, or do you want to be just short and parallel with the bunkers? It's just, there's a lot that he can attack with that club. And I think that's huge. Just giving him another weapon to kind of go defeat some of these courses is is great. He doesn't use it too much off the ground because he doesn't really need to. And
I was
that's
going to
where
say, I
kind
can't
of,
imagine there'd be, when you're a 190 ball speed guy, I can't imagine there's an occasion where you often need a club like that for a second shot. I tell you what, though, 9X feels meaty for a mini driver shaft. So, like your Tommy Fleetwoods of the world are still in like a 6X. Most of the guys I've seen in minis, 7s, like that sort of 7 gram mark. That's a meaty offering in mini drivers, isn't
the kids these days, you know? Just kids these days. And then that's kind of where it leads into, like, can we get up these speeds in these distances with this mini driver? Then, you know, what's our next option to gap it, right? And that's where we get into your favorite club, which is the UW. And just this week we've gone to, and we talked about it, you know, at the end of, I talked to him last week about it, is like, listen, because I usually chat with the caddies. The caddies will give you more honest information than the player will, because the player will just forget about most. But, you know, if it's right or left of the hole, that's on the player. If it's long or short, that's on the caddy. So I like to keep them gainfully employed as much as possible, especially if I like them. So me and Shane chatted about it, and he's had this Apex UW 21 degree in the bag for a while.
Is that the newer model? That's the 24 or 25 model?
Yeah. It's the newest one that reckons back to the original one. It's not, that one in between was a little bit different. But the one he had come into the season with was 41 inches long. So it was a little bit longer than standard.
What loft are we talking here, Kellen? 21, 19?
19.4. It was the 21 degree, but it was open to 19.4. But this thing was going 260 meters. Shane's like, this one goes a little bit too far. So I said, listen, I will build up. I built up a 23 degree. This one was going quite shorter. That was a 20.8. It was going much shorter. And these are all with that new Ventus VeloCore Plus 10X. So if you like meat, this one is a Tomahawk. So these are all built up with that. And so we have, essentially now we have a bevy of kind of head covers. Now we have the 21 that's still at 41 inches. That one goes a certain distance, almost plays like a 3-wood to a point. So that can attack certain places. I made one that is a 1/2 inch shorter than that. It is going exactly the distance he needs, which would be, in most of our cases, it would be a great 3-wood. Even some of the players that he's playing with, it would be a great 3-wood. And then we have this 23 degree, which could be used, you never know where else.
So the second one you just spoke about there is the same head makeup, but just specifically, just the only difference, 1/2 inch shorter, yeah?
Same 21 degree at 19.8. So maybe just a touch weaker. I mean, 0.4. Which to some people will sound like nothing, but the smallest of changes will create the biggest of gaps for these guys. And they're both tipped just an inch. Usually we do all the UWs probably about 1.5 inches is kind of our not our standard. It was just kind of something that we fell onto when we got this club originally, is like 1.5 inches works really well with most shafts. And it feels correct to most of these guys.
Yeah, so like from your 15 tour only model that we're talking about down to 23, that 1.5 tipping
works very well. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we don't see too many of the 15s and the 17s on tour, because, I mean, at that point, you're looking at something a little bit longer, and also looking at a head that's a little bit smaller. So it's a kind of a weird kind of deal to it. It's a weird look aesthetically. But yeah, we've gone with mostly 1.5 inches on most of it. But I mean, sometimes I take a couple of these and just kind of, I do what I think I should be done. And it's worked out nicely, because I mean, you can understand that the speed they're coming at and what the loft they're coming at. So if I can take away a 1/2 inch of tipping to grab a little bit more spin to make it more accurate, I will take that any day of the week. But yeah, now he has, 2 21s, one set up for, like, of course, this week I believe he is playing the 21 degree. That's a 1/2 inch shorter. so it doesn't go very far. And then he's got the longer one that he can attack some other places. And then he's got the 23 that just goes significantly shorter. But I mean, all of that said, and I've talked him almost into it because he asked for another utility iron because he's got that X Forge utility in the 21 degree. And I kind of talked him out of that, even though he loves that. I said, let's just leave that for some of these DP World Tour or possibly Open Championships. Let's just leave that for that. Let's concentrate more on the United States side of things, and let's concentrate on apex height. Let's concentrate on a land angle. That is probably going to be over 45 degrees on a land angle, so it's going to land like a butterfly with sore feet. Let's do some of that rather than trying to, just do it for 1 week or one kind of condition. I think it makes it much easier for him to have the height and the stopping power of something that is designed that way rather than, having that utility iron. I know he loves to go back to it because it's an iron swing, and his iron swing is tremendous and beautiful. But let's concentrate on a couple things.
Also, he loves a stinger, doesn't he? He's the king of the stingers. See as well, right?
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, you can look cool, but I mean, you look a hell of a lot cooler if you're holding a trophy on Sunday and putting your lips against it.
Amen. So let's get into his irons then. But you're absolutely right there. Irons. So let me tell you what I know, and then I'm just to coin a Minwoo phrase, I'm just going to let you cook. So 4 and 5 iron in the X Forged, 6-10 in the Forge Proto Blaze that you've spoken about. I want you to just explain to me the difference, because you said earlier they were the first ones that were kind of machined.
So that was early on. That was just machined out of our headquarters. So just solid blocks of steel machined, obviously, carbide tips running over. And it was just one of those, a very soft piece of metal, but with the intention of going forward, they would be mimicked by the essential setup we have right now. So the finish of them was more raw. Not raw in a sense of the color, but raw in the sense of the
texture.
Angle. Yeah, the texture and the angles being more pronounced if you were to look at, the two together. There's no difference in, the machine ones are gone now. He's in now what would be considered the standard Apex MB. But if you were to look at them side by side, the angles and the sole are not as accentuated as much as they were in the machine part. You saw more of it. It was obviously the lines on the new one are softened to a point because of the finish. Whereas his machine ones, it was more angular. It was more geometrical in looking at it, but they are the same. They are the same essentially.
Right.
So it was a very easy transition in that sense. And then the 4 and the 5 iron being the X Forged, it falls right in line with it. Blade length wise, sole geometries, the bounces on all of them, they meld together quite well. So it's not too much of it's not too far apart when he's going from 5 to 6, right? He's expecting the same entrance into the ground and the same exit out of the ground. So, he could play the 4 iron in the MB, but he just, essentially, even professional athletes have a little bit of insecurity to him. So he feels like the 4 and the 5 are, just a little bit more forgiving than what would be in the MB. But I still think that MB is the most forgiving MB I've ever hit in my life. The fact that I can play it on a regular basis says a lot. But it's just easier for him.
So he's also the irons that I've seen previously raw. I'm guessing he's continued that along with the Hoy guys. Could you just speak to me a little bit about potentially the specs? I sort of noticed, and I know you hate the term standard, but I'm referring it to standard detail.
He's
a little stronger in loft. Are they bent strong or are they built strong? I guess what I'm getting at is sometimes when I'm a bit of a high spinner of the ball, and when I bend stuff stronger, I don't always love the look of adding a bit of offset.
right.
Which, whether that's my lack of bending skills or whether that's just
No, you're good. You're dead on. I mean, you're gonna if you bend anything stronger, you're gonna get some more offset out of it. And that I mean, there's a certain Australian guy, who's you know very good looking guy, wears some really nice clothing too. He plays a set of our irons, and they're the MBs, and all of his are 4 degrees strong.
he loves offset, doesn't he? And
Loves it.
you can't say it. He's referring to Adam Scott. We used to do a lot of fitting where I used to work with Colin Montgomery, who absolutely loved offset.
Mhm.
Bernard Langer would bend as much offset in as he could. It's a really, it's like a cult look that some players just are desperate for as much as they can see, right?
And that's, I mean, that would be my, that would be my, and I've done stuff for Colin like way back when. Yeah, the offset's very apparent. The grips are the worst case. This is, yeah, Iommic was just new on tour. I think this was probably 2008. And I remember I put like 14 pieces of starter tape, like the masking tape, and then another like eight layers of like double-sided tape. And I'm like, holy shit, this is going to take me at least a day. And I broke about 95 grips. Those Iommics being new, I was like, you can't even get this over the end of it. It was incredible. And then he finally changed it.
And the pressure from the tape would just split them.
It would just split the end of it and be like, oh, okay, let's rip this one off and put it back on. Yeah, there's a bunch of people that love offset. And then I mean, I've worked with Chad Campbell a lot too. He loves offset. But there is a kind of a, the Australian guy you were talking about and Chad, there's kind of a devilish little game played in it too, because, Chad's going to hit 9-iron, right? And then the guy's looking in the bag and, oh, he hit 9-iron there. All right, well, it's really an 8-iron, but it's the same thing with Bryson, right? Bryson's, all of his lofts are so jacked up that, okay, he's got 240 to the flag. He's going to hit 6-iron. It's like, well, his 6-iron is, 21 degrees. So yeah, there's a little bit, I mean, in terms of it, if you were to look at it, I mean, it's a little bit of offset, but like I said prior is like the finish associated with the iron. Does it hide that fact? Because there's a lot going on in that kind of par area that's going from hosel to blade going out is like, if you can hide the shininess of that back heel area, then most players will not see as much offset, and then there's some guys that will see the offset. So very personal when it comes to like what it looks like at address. Like if you were to take like a Siwoo guy, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say the nuances of what you say there. Like, I see that and I think about that sometimes, but it's difficult to articulate. But you've articulated it really well. I see it in blade length or something like the game improvement irons I would test quite often when a company will release those in a charcoal finish or a black finish or whatever. It totally changes the perception of blade length and the stuff you're talking about there, the hosel transitions, the top line transition. I'd never really thought about it in the way you have there, where the finish that you put on the club actually changes the visual of those individual parts of that golf club. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and I mean, I've done it with. I mean, you could do it with a lot of things. You can do it a lot of things. I remember Justin Rose, a great relationship with Justin. He's like, I'm going to try the triple diamond tee that John Rahm plays, but there's a section of the hosel that leads into the leading edge that was the color of the fairway wood itself. And I said, well, let me grind that area to make it look like the face, so it flows seamlessly. So we did that, and he's like, that looks so much better. And I'm like, oh. So, I mean, it's very personal preference, I think to a point, I think that's where the difference is, tour player to consumer is like, and it shouldn't be, but it is It's like when you go into a fitting or you're going to like a demo day or something, you're probably going to hit everything, and anything that works swimmingly for you is going to be the one that you choose. In terms of, the Tour Pro, if I hand him something and they're like, this looks terrible, he's never swinging that golf club. I'm not allowing him to hit it because the first thing he's going to put down, the preconceived notion of the thing, is that it's awful looking. So it's probably going to produce an awful shot. So yes, offset, same deal. It's like, can you get used to the offset? It's just one of those things. It's just like, it's a very personal preference about what works best. And what looks best to the guy, because the better it looks, the better he's going to swing at it.
Yeah.
So sorry, I went on a tangent.
I love your tangents, Kellen.
So,
never stop.
3-iron, standardish. 6-iron, standardish. 7-iron, a little bit strong. 8-iron, a little bit weak, maybe. 9-iron, a little bit strong. Wedge, a little bit like dead on. 4-iron, maybe a touch strong, and 5-iron, maybe just a touch strong. And then you get down to like his gap wedge is just like 1 degree strong. So, like I said prior, in terms of a standard, they may be strong or weak, but they go the right distance.
Kellen's dancing around the topic here, but like we spoke about it on the John Rahm,
Yeah,
in the back, where at the level that Kellen's fitting and producing golf clubs, this concept of I'm 1 degree upright or I'm 1 degree weak, and that's a linear thing throughout the set. That just is frankly nonsense at this level. So that's been really fascinating to hear about. And then I guess going into wedges, I've got a couple of things I wanted to say. Obviously, Opus SP in the gap, I believe, then goes into some Vokies, I think. I want to know more. We're not going to go too deep into wedges because obviously that's not going to necessarily be your area. But I want to know, is there any ribbing between players and the tour van when they rock up on your van and they've got some other manufacturer's stuff? Is there lots of get this filth off my truck? Like, what are you doing? This is garbage. Is there much of that goes on?
You're asking the wrong person probably for this. I'm not the person. This isn't good for me. This is going to paint me in a bad light with the people that pay me.
Right. I'm going to stop you there before
bi-monthly. It's fine. Yeah. It's just, it is. We've tried. We've tried. Right. I think we're in a position that we can attack. Some of the guys that we have that are on our staff that we pay to play our equipment. That play, Vokey wedges. And in this case, obviously, Minwoo's got the sand wedge and the lob wedge, and then it falls back on me with the sand wedge and the lob wedge in Xander's bag. And it kind of falls right on my head, but we're in a position with this Opus line that we're making it much easier on ourselves to win these battles, right? There's some guys that are just staunch on the fact that this is what they need to be playing, and it doesn't bother me that they bring them in, right? And I know Aaron. I worked with True Temper for 4 years on tour too. So at some point for 4 years I was in Switzerland in this, so especially like this past week, and Aaron came up while I was with Xander on the range, and it was, hey, do you need a new lob wedge? And he's like, yeah, I'll try. I said, Aaron, when you build them, just drop them off in our trailer. Because I'm going to, after he's done with it, I don't, as much as I love Aaron, all his specs come from our trailer. Same thing with Minwoo. So I'll say, Aaron, if you got fresh ones from Minwoo, please drop them off on our trailer. We're going to do the specs on our machine, and then I'll give them to Minwoo. So not that I don't trust them, but I want those specs to be dead on.
Well, there's elements of play, right? Machines are calibrated differently.
100%.
So on and so forth.
We have a very specific. I don't know if you've been in our tour trailer in the United States.
I've been in
we
the
have,
European one, not the US one yet.
yeah, we have a proprietary kind of bending machine in ours. You would get down to almost 10 thousandths of a degree. You know, like Minwoo right here is 63.49 on the lie angle on his sand wedge.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's not 63 and a half, it's not 63.48, it's 63.49, right? So, and then going back to what you were saying before, and I was talking about lie angles. I mean, he goes, lie angles on the pitching wedge and the 9-iron are the same. 8-iron and 7-iron are the same. 6-iron and the 5-iron are, where is that? They're a degree different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that linear kind of, that curve you're talking about, it's not linear in terms of the spec, but it's linear in terms of the carry distance, the spin, and the window that he sees. So, yeah, the wedges, listen, if he's playing amazing, I love it.
Let him. Right.
Yeah.
The bit I wanted to ask you was, where do the grips change? I know does he not have a combination of the Gripmaster stuff and Z chords, and like, what's the implication for you building equipment in terms of? Cause I would assume that, are they quite different weights, or are they pretty similar in weight? Do they have different?
Yeah, they're about 3/4 of a swing weight difference.
Okay, so
and it stops at the gap wedge. So the gap wedge is the last one with the Gripmaster. And then the 56 and the 60 have the Z chord on them.
do you know why that is? Have you discussed that, or is that just?
I personally think that it's because those Gripmasters are few and far between, and your likelihood of changing wedges is much more than you changing the rest of the set on a week to week basis because of the grooves. So I think he's said, let's just. I think there's a feel. There's a feel thing to it as well. I think. I mean, there's an underlisting obviously on the Gripmaster, but the fact that it's so. I mean, it's not so deep, but I mean, in terms of a full rubber part like the Z chord, and then the underlisting, and then leather on top of the Gripmaster, I think there's a little bit different feel aspect to it. But that's where that stops. So it'd be driver through the gap wedge, and it seems like, in my head, I would interpret as more full shots with the Gripmaster than it would be the touch shots. Because you're obviously, the 50 degree is kind of the 50 degree, you might take a little bit off of it, you might power it up, if it's downwind front pin or something, but usually it's just kind of a full swing with that 50 degree. It's not as much manipulation in terms of distances. So
you see that a little bit, I guess. Like, I've seen it on Scheffler. I think Zonder's another one. He is not kind of ribbed down to a point and then goes round, because you're going to be opening and closing club face, and you don't want that rib to sit elsewhere. So I guess you see a bit of that in getting into wedges with a slightly different grip set makeup, don't you? I just want to talk to you about putter. So he's in a Jailbird 380, it says, at the moment. No, he's not anymore. So I was just going to ask you, is that an early prototype of what I've got in my hand here? This kind of, because it looked very much from the same.
No, that is the exact one he used to have.
Okay, there you go.
Now he is. There was a couple things that he was kind of not. I mean, he'd putted very well with it. Don't get me wrong, but there was a couple things that he had felt like he was missing a couple putts this way, that way, mostly just a little bit left. But he was aiming that thing great. And then we have this prototype come out that will be announced at some point soon. And now he is in this. So he had quite a few options at Pebble Beach sent in for him with essentially moving out of the square to square kind of look for the zero torque kind of category, and going into more of a, whether it be face balanced or slightly toe hang, or,
is this prototype named after a small animal with a shell?
Correct. That is correct. That is correct. It would be the same thing. The same thing that Siwoo has right now as well. So, it's a different look for him. I think it's more about the toe hang and how it's moving in his hands and how it's moving through the stroke than it would be the look, I guess. Because he did get some options in a jailbird that were there was a crank hosel in there, and there was also an S neck. So you're looking crank hosel, you're looking at some toe hang. Obviously, the S neck, you're looking at a little bit more toe hang. I think he was just trying to get back into a more rhythmic feel of it. And then see, I always correlate that with the swing too. Is like how much are you doing, face rotation, and how you swing the club. But then obviously that changes on the greens, right? So the zero torque being a little bit less gatey, open the gate, close the gate kind of stroke to it. So I think he just wanted a little bit more feel in terms of where the face was spatially. So
I've got that feedback from a few of the guys actually that I do what's in the bags with. Love the concept and feel bulletproof kind of a foot to 10 feet because nothing wants to move. But then, as you just said, when you lose a bit of the torque, do you lose a bit of awareness of where that blade is in space and time? And does that make you feel? I've heard that here and there. So it's interesting that he's piled on that. Well, yeah, but that's a very, once again, comprehensive dive into the bag of Minwoo Lee. I need to check in with Kellen to see if we've managed to run into a call that he didn't want to go on. Have we strung this out enough for you, Kellen? Or do we need to keep going?
We can keep going if you would like. I am sending a text that I am on a very important call.
Riveting call with a very handsome.
Well, I am on a very riveting call.
Handsome young man from England. Yeah.
With the star of Love Actually. I'm on a very riveting call. And well, he's the one that set it up for me. So if I'm not there on time, or if I miss the whole thing,
his fault then. Well, I don't know what much more I've got to ask you. Is there anything else within Minwoo's setup or bag that's particularly unusual that that we wouldn't ordinarily know, or have we uncovered the lot?
He is CT. He's in Chrome Tour.
Yeah,
Chrome Tour with he's one of the few that has it's the prefab line on it in red.
Okay, yeah.
So aiming, and then he's got his little chef logo on there as well. But he's only one of few that have like kind of essentially a special golf ball.
Same thing with as we spoke about, you get the ball right around the green and on the greens in terms of feel and spin, and then the rest has to
same
thing.
Right now, he is in the 24 version of it, so he's not in the updated version. We did some testing with him in October or November of this past year, and I'm not sure he was 100% sold on it just yet. But in terms of some of the guys that have changed from 24 to 26, it would essentially make a little bit of sense. The 26, I feel like it's one of the fastest golf balls that we've had ever. And obviously, what do you? I mean, can you fit a bigger engine into the car? I don't know if you want to. I think it might weigh you down, but it just didn't seem like a great fit. Like the same spin around the greens, but does he need the more speed? The more speed comes with other things too.
While I've got you on golf ball, I remember watching, I think, Phil Mickelson's What's in the Bag at the start of the year on High Flyers. He was talking about, he was kind of between, I think he almost had an arsenal of balls, because he was saying this one's great in this temperature, this one's great when it gets a bit wet, this one is he one of a kind in that element that he's just sort of toying about and trying that, or do you see any of the staff players altering ball?
Yeah, that's obviously, and we touched on it when we talked about the John thing. It's just like, how much information do you really want to know about what you're doing? Phil is a different case study, is where he kind of wants to know everything. And his mind works to a point of, is there one way? Is there multiple ways to attack the same course depending on the conditions that are presented to me? And I think that's I think that's unique to him. But that's also right. You need to have a certain level of talent to be able to pull that off. Because it's incredible to think that, you know, I can still create shots around the greens and be aggressive with swings around the greens and have the ball react in a certain way, where I feel comfortable, and then everything else plays the way I want it to. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. I know.
if there's like if there's a course that he thinks I'm going to play this ball because it's faster here, if it's faster from my driver down to my 8-iron, let's say, and then I need to do something from 9 to lob wedge to create the spin or the flight that's needed.
And to
I
your
can
point,
I can
yes.
do that, you know?
Yeah, to your point, I guess the sort of question you've got to ask yourself there is the juice worth the squeeze? Is what you're getting out of it at the top end worth the compensations and what you're going to have to
Yeah.
do to manipulate the same launch conditions or spin or whatever down the bottom end of the bag? Yeah, it just occurred to me as you were chatting about ball and fitting. I remember hearing that. I was just intrigued to hear your take on it.
It's amazing too, because it could be 3 to 4. Let's see. I mean, every time I go out to a live event, because I'll go hang with John, and I'll see Phil, and I'll see Caleb Surratt, and I'll see McKibben, and I'll see, this year I'll see Dietrich, and I take care of those guys. It's like, Phil, essentially it's 3 golf balls every week, that we'll put in his locker, and that's fine. I'm totally fine with it. It's like that speaks to the talent that he has and the confidence he has in all 3 golf balls, and he's had the time and the patience to test all of them with the setups that he's got. And then also, I mean, if you were to look at it from a 30,000 foot view, is like, you have a guy so confident in the short game that he's got, that he can play 3 different balls. That's incredible.
Just make his little micro adjustments for spin and whatever on the fly. That's remarkable, isn't it?
It's amazing, because, and then they're definitely going to, the windows completely change in the irons too. It's like, you can go from this to this to this and still not be affected by what you're seeing.
I don't want to move on to a Phil thing altogether here, but I don't know.
That would be another day and a half.
Well, yeah, don't. But I was curious to know how long you've been. Would you have been around? I know you were True Temper before and stuff. I'm thinking back to the days when he sort of made the Frankenwood at Muirfield for the Open, like a little 2-wood crossover.
So, yeah, I was 13. I wasn't 13. I came over, but I kind of started talking and discussing stuff with him probably 21.
Okay.
The end of 21-ish, kind of doing right, like prior to the playoffs in 21. He kind of saw it out and just kind of asked me a bunch of questions, and it's possibly because I had a good relationship with Tim, his brother, and it was like, and I always thought I was not even close to the box, right? My mind was always so far out of the box, because if you just continue to stay in the box, then you will almost wither away. But he just wanted to know some answers, and either my frankness, candidness, or genuine nature of myself, that usually is frowned upon in a way, or gets me in trouble more often than not. I think he wanted to know. I wasn't afraid to speak my mind in front of him, which I don't know if a lot of people have done. Usually people are just like very cordial to him, and I'm not going to treat anybody like that. If it gets me in trouble, it gets me in trouble. But I want the people to, I want to be genuine to the person. I don't want to be that yes guy, so that's probably the gift and the curse.
Yeah, no, it's one I'm familiar with myself, but I've taken far too much time up from you here. At some point I need to eat, because otherwise, talking of withering away and dying, that's what I'll be doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, fascinating conversation, great information. Kellen Watson.
Joe, thank you very much for having me. And I hope you got everything out of it that you hopefully expected to.
Not yet. My Apex UWs haven't arrived yet, Kellen.
Well, I mean, we're going through a little bit of a global conflict, so if they're a little bit late, it's not my fault.
But that's a pitiable excuse, but I take it. Thanks, Kellen.
Good work, Joe. I've had my tablets now. I've calmed down. And I'm a big Kellen guy. I want to meet him in person.
I think
Let's
you'd
try
get
and
on well
arrange
with
that.
Kellen. Yeah, I'm
Go
sure
for
we
a few
can.
beers with Kellen.
I'm sure we could
please.
at some point. He'll be over
Go
for the Open. Yeah.
Yeah,
let's do that.
They got a new tour truck as well, Callaway, in the UK.
Yes.
We need to go see that as well.
I don't think it's out yet. I think it's sort of May time. That's hitting the wild.
Lovely.
So be ready for Wentworth, ready for the Open. Yeah, I think we might do a couple of bits on that, I believe.
Lovely. Right, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for all your questions, your comments, as always. Good work from Joe doing those interviews. And I say saving us from doing work when we come here to film on the day, but we end up talking for an hour and 10 minutes anyway, and then plopping an hour-long interview on the end. So if you're watching this in stages, great. Let us know where you're at. You're probably in next year by now. And I'm rambling now, actually, as I'm doing it.
Could just wrap it up,
Could
couldn't you?
shut up, couldn't I? Next week, Ping G740, and we're putting up against the best game improvement iron of the year so far, which is the
Cobra 3D PX.
Yes. Lots of cool questions that you've done. And then, Joe, you've done an interview with some folk at Fujikura.
Not just some folk, Andrew Huang.
Yes, tour rep at Fujikura.
Yeah.
We've having a tour rep season here at Kickpoint, the Golf Gear Show. And it's a good chat.
Really good chat. You've not listened to it yet, have you?
No.
I say yes, I doubt you will. But yeah, really good chat. Just a lot of the stuff that comes up over the pods of chats about torque, tipping, what these things actually do, what do they mean,
What does
do
it
they
all
see
mean,
on
man?
tour. Really good, really nice guy as well. So yeah, look out for that one.
Good. Well, thanks for your work this week, Joe.
Pleasure.
Bye, everyone. Yeah.
Bye now. Fabulously done there, Dan.
My skills as a host are just going in one direction and one direction only.